ruled the world before Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great, and Attila the Hun. Here's the stories of 5 conquerors that you've never heard of, and why they slipped through the cracks of time and history.
Thutmose III. Born in 1481 BC, Thutmose III ascended the throne of Egypt's 18th dynasty when he was 10 years of age, with his aunt Hatshepsut ruling as queen regent. His father, Thutmose II, died when he was very young and he couldn't take the throne at the time. Thutmose III spent the majority of his childhood in school, at athletics, and learning about military tactics and strategies. During his first military campaign, Thutmose III led an army 20,000 strong to modern-day Palestine to fight a coalition of Canaanite vassal states. This is called the Battle of Megiddo, or more commonly known as Armageddon, and thus began Thutmose III's 17 successful military campaigns over the span of 20 years. His constant victories earned him the nickname the Napoleon of Egypt. He conquered all of Syria, crossing the Euphrates, and expanded south into Nubia all the way to the 5th cataract of the Nile, pushing Egypt to the farthest extent it's ever been. The spoils from Thutmose III's military campaigns increasingly advanced Egypt's treasury and made him the richest man in the world at the time. Thutmose III died of natural causes and was buried in the Valley of Kings in western Thebes as arguably the greatest conqueror to ever rule Egypt. He is only unknown because his achievements in history were largely erased by later pharaohs.
Skanderbeg, a name you probably haven't heard in your history class, but probably should have. Over in Albania, they call him a national hero, kind of like their version of George Washington, just with a sword instead of the powdered wig. Skanderbeg was born in the year 1405 with the name George Castriati to father John Castriati in the city of Kruja in the mountain regions of Albania. He was introduced into battle at a very young age, when he was given to the Ottoman Empire at the young age of 9 as a hostage. For context, Sultan Bayezid of the Ottoman Empire invaded Albania in 1394, and his father was fighting for the little land that they still had. Skanderbeg excelled in the training, earning himself the nickname Iskander, after Alexander the Great. He learned to fight real young, and he was really good at it. But here's the twist. He fought with the Ottoman Empire for over 20 years, and Islam was forced on him. But after about 20 years of fighting and numerous attacks, he and 300 other Albanians decided to abandon the Ottoman Empire and switch sides and fight for the Albanian faith, that being Christianity. And for almost 25 years, he and his army fought the Ottomans and won nearly every single battle that they took part in. However, while Skanderbeg and his army were nearly unstoppable in what they did, they could only do so much. And in 1468, Skanderbeg passed away, and the Ottomans finally took over Albania. However, Skanderbeg stayed alive in legend and art and was a symbol of faith, freedom, and resistance for Albania, and his legacy lives on to this very day. While his double-headed eagle, the same symbol that he wore on his shield, stands as Albania's national flag, and he will always be remembered as a national hero in Albania for many years to come.
Lord Eight-Deer Jaguar Claw, or Eight-Deer for short, was born in 1063 AD in the city of Tilantongo, Mexico. His father, Lord Five Crocodile, was the high counselor of the city, and thus influenced the king to hire Eight-Deer as his representative. In 1083, during a meeting between 3 cities of the Mixtec nation, Eight-Deer was representing the king and was selected to become a warlord and conquer a coastal town named Tuxtepec. Upon arriving in Tuxtepec, Eight-Deer and his men set up a fortress and immediately began to conquer regions of the coastal city. Eight-Deer and his men won every battle, and by 1090 AD, Eight-Deer had created a mini-empire of villages spanning 200 miles along the coast of Tuxtepec. In 1096 AD, Eight-Deer returned to Tilantongo and discovered that the king had been murdered. Eight-Deer suspected that the neighboring rulers, Lord Elevenwind and Queen Six-Monkey, had plotted the assassination. Eight-Deer vowed to get revenge, but knew that he must first restore order in Tilantongo. The king had no heirs to the throne, so after gambling with his life in a ball game with a neighboring priest to get royal powers, Eight-Deer became king. When the suspected plotters of the previous king's assassination heard about Eight-Deer's rise to power, they were outraged and once again hatched a plan to weaken Tilantongo. They knew how important the brother of Eight Deer was and hired 2 of Eight Deer's nephews to kill him. Eight Deer was heartbroken and decided to avenge his brother and former king of Tilantongo. Eight Deer raided the cities of 11wind and Six Monkey. During the battle, he killed 11wind, the 2 nephews who killed his brother, and Queen Six Monkey. He then adopted the 2 sons of Six Monkey and raised them as his own, and married the daughter of 11wind, successfully creating his own dynasty. In 1115 AD, while on a hunting trip, one of the boys Eight Deer adopted never forgave him for killing his mother and assassinated him. By the time Eight Deer was killed, he conquered anywhere from 25 to 94 cities and was known as a merciful and just leader. And yet his mercy to one of the boys he spared ultimately led to his demise.
Hernan Cortez, symbol of Spanish aggression, the Aztecs describe his and his army's conquest. They ran in among the dancers, forcing their way to the place where the drum was played. They attacked the man who was drumming and cut off his arms. They attacked the celebrants, stabbing them, spearing them. No matter how they tried to save themselves, they could find no escape. A symbol of Spanish cruelty, born in 1485 in the town of Medellin, Cortez spent 2 years in university, giving him knowledge of the legal codes of the Castile that he applied to help justify his unauthorized conquest of Mexico. In 1511, at the age of 26, Cortez was appointed governor of Cuba after accompanying Diego in his expedition to conquer Cuba. In 1518, Velázquez, a Spanish conquistador, put Cortez in command of an expedition to explore and secure the interior of Mexico for colonization. He swept his way through Mexico and eventually laid siege to the capital of the Aztec Empire. He burned it to the ground. Afterwards, he was particularly close to Christian evangelists, symbolizing the new spiritual and racial order in Mexico. There are no statues of Hernan Cortez in Mexico. He is remembered as a villain who symbolizes Spanish cruelty and dominance over the natives.
Sargon of Akkad, also known as Sargon the Great, came from humble beginnings, but made his way up to create the first multinational empire in history. He was found as a baby floating down the river in a basket, just like Moses in the Bible. He was raised by his father, who was a gardener, his mother, who was a priestess. His rise to power started when he became the cupbearer to the king of the city of Kish. Through multiple war victories, he became the ruler of southern Mesopotamia, and that is where his conquest began. His desire to secure favorable trade for Agade, the capital of Akkad, and his desire to conquer caused him to go on to defeat cities along the middle Euphrates to northern Syria, as well as the silver-rich mountains of southern Anatolia. He also dominated Susa, the capital of the cities of the Elamites, and the Zargo Mountains of western Iran. He quickly expanded his rule and established a flourishing empire. He was the king for the next 56 years. The fall of his empire wasn't because he was a bad leader or that people didn't like him, but more because his rule was so vast and he didn't have a good enough administration to keep everything running smoothly and in control. The legacy that he left behind was one that would be remembered for centuries, and Sargon of Akkad would go down in history as the first great conqueror of the world.
Conquerors nowadays don't look like what they used to, but that doesn't make them any less relevant today. Take the likes of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and other industry titans. They conquered their respective industries of technology and e-commerce, and it is made clear by their profits, impact, and how widespread they are. Conquerors don't always have to expand using violence and military strategy, but with innovation and drive.